So, I finally got an offer accepted on a property. Let's talk about it. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jadesola. If you have been following my channel, you would know that I am actually in the middle of buying my very first investment property. And it's been a journey. So I have already made videos of, some viewings that I did back when I went to Liverpool to see some of the investment properties that I was interested in. And then after I got back to London, I actually put offers on a couple of them, and it was rejection for the first one, rejection for the second one, and finally the third one, I got my offer accepted on that. So for anyone who's wondering, what does it mean to put an offer on a property? It's simply when you let the estate agent or the seller of the property know how much you would like to pay for the property. So usually when people list property prices online, you can decide to offer the same thing that they're asking for. You can decide to offer more, or you can decide to offer less. So like some properties that I saw, when I looked at it, I'm like, hey, I won't pay up to the asking price for this property based on maybe the condition or maybe some other things that I've seen. And there were some that I actually saw that I was like, I would most likely offer a lot more for this property. Now you may be wondering, why would anyone offer more than what the seller is asking for? It's simply because they want to stand out. They want their offer to stand out. They want theirs to be accepted. This thing is like you're bidding. You're not the only one that wants that particular property. And you're hoping that if you offer more, that the seller would consider your offer and say, yes, I would sell my property to this person. I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I had my offers rejected twice before I got a yes on the third one. And there's so many reasons why this could have happened, why they went with someone else's offer. For the first two that I actually got the offer rejected, I offered more than the asking price and I still got rejected. But what I've realized is that the seller's condition really determines whether or not they will be able to accept your offer or not. And this is me just putting myself in the seller's shoes. For example, if I list my property at £100,000 and someone is offering me £105,000 and another person is offering me 100,000, but the person that is offering me 105,000 is going to be using a mortgage to buy the property, and the person that is offering me 100,000 is going to be using cash. Now, the difference between these two offers is the fact that one is going to close much faster. The person that has cash, that doesn't have to go and apply for a loan to be able to buy the property, versus the person that needs to go and apply for a loan. That time difference, some sellers, they're like, yeah, you want to offer 5,000 more, but I'm pressed for time. I really need to close, and this offer, even though it's lower than what I would have loved, but hey, I can close much faster, and they would go with that person. Another reason could just also be that maybe, the person that is going to use a mortgage has not gotten an approval in principle. And I didn't have an approval in principle at the time that I was actually viewing. So I put an offer on a property without an approval in principle. I will talk more about the details of how I was able to navigate that later, but maybe that played a role in my offer not being accepted on some of the properties that I put an offer on earlier. I'm not entirely sure. But finally, on the third one, after getting rejected twice, I got my offer accepted on one of the properties. You would have to wait to see the property I put an offer on when everything is concluded. So let's talk about what happens next. After you put an offer on a property, the next thing is you have to sort out your financing. So if you're using cash, all you have to do is speak to your solicitor and then move forward from there. If you're using a mortgage, which is what I'm using, then you have to go and apply for a mortgage. So after I got my offer accepted was when I got my approval in principle, and then also had to go through the mortgage application process. And I have to say, I have a fantastic mortgage broker. Like, she's God sent. I will still make another video detailing my ordeal trying to get a mortgage approval between July of last year and January of this year, and it was crickets, right? I will have to make that video separately, but I saw how my broker really helped to package my application. Now, one of the reasons why a mortgage application may be declined is if your mortgage broker doesn't present your case properly, right? And a lot of it has to come with also how your documentation is. I had a complex situation going on for me in the first place. Now, the other thing is during the mortgage application process, this is the time they're going to go in depth into the build-up of your deposit. How did you come about the deposit that you want to use to buy this house? Was it a gift? If it was a gift, they would like to see, how the gift money was transferred to you. They would like to know that, hey, this person that has given you this gift doesn't have any interest in taking a portion of the property, right? If it is your savings, they want to see the history of you saving the money and building it up. Now, I had a complex situation going on with my bank statement as well. Because my salary is paid into a different account, and I was saving the deposit in a different account, but the money goes from one account to another account before it even gets into the account that I was building up my deposit. It made my case a bit more complex. And just going through the process of, sitting down with my broker and breaking down my bank statement with the cover letter that she had to do, breaking down my finances, making sure that if the underwriter picked up my document and was wondering where my money was coming from and how I was able to save up to the deposit, that they would not be confused. And I know that was one of the major reasons why my initial brokers just couldn't deal with my situation, because they didn't have the patience, they didn't have the expertise to actually be that thorough. So my broker submitted the application for me, went back and forth. Again, based on the relationship they have with some of the lenders, they're able to answer questions. Based also on the fact that she really understood my situation. She had sat down with me to really understand the movement of every single pound that was in the deposit account. She understood it. So she was able to convince the lender that I was good enough for a mortgage. So the next phase to even arrive at the amount they're now going to lend to me was the valuation process. So they had to physically go and value the property. So they sent someone down to the property, inspected the property, and came up with a valuation for the property, looked at how much rent that property could generate, and then finally came up with how much they could lend to me. So, again, I'm going to make another video on how much you need to save when you're trying to buy a property, because most people just talk about the deposit. But there's so many moving parts, especially when you're trying to buy a property. But that is going to come in another video. And just last week, I finally got my mortgage approval. I am so excited. You guys have no idea. This was something that, I couldn't achieve in 6 months working with some people. And then I decided to take over and handle this thing myself. And in less than 2 months, you guys have been on this journey with me, right? I have been able to find a property, to get my offer accepted on one property after 2 rejections. I have been able to get a mortgage approval in principle after finding a property, and also getting my mortgage application approved. So now that I have a mortgage offer, what is the next step? Now, this is the longest part of the process, and I am not looking forward to it, because right now I feel like I am losing my patience and I just need to distract myself with some other things. So this other part is now called the conveyancing. So now both sides, both myself and the seller, we need to engage solicitors. In order to make sure that they can transfer the title of the property to me, my lawyers have to go and do searches on the property to make sure that the owner is the owner, to make sure that nobody else can come and lay claims. If I want maybe extra due diligence done on the property itself, they will do that as part of their process as well. If there are things maybe based on their search that they find, they can communicate that with the lawyers on the other side, go back and forth. And it's only when they are fine with everything that they found, they'll come back to me and let me know. And then if I say, hey, it's okay, then they would also go ahead and let the other party know. And then we can exchange the contract, and then I can finally pick up the keys. So this process typically takes between, 8 to 16 weeks in some cases. And in some cases, it may be longer than that. So if you're trying to buy a property, you need to be a bit patient. That is what I'm beginning to realize. So right now, I am in the conveyancing process. I've engaged my own solicitors. I have filled the forms. Oh my God, the forms are long. The forms are long. It took me 2.5 hours of just sitting down to complete the forms. And basically, they're just asking you a bunch of questions to understand your situation. But bulk of the conversation is coming around how you've raised the money that you're using as well. Everyone needs to make sure that they comply with anti-money laundering regulations. So everybody just wants to be safe at the end of the day. So you don't have to give them as much details about yourself as you can. So while I'm waiting during this conveyancing process, what I'm basically doing is I am just trying to really set up the business in itself. So the setting up the business is not registering the company. That one is done. I already have bank account. That one is done. But every other thing that I'm going to need to do once I get my keys to make sure that I can get tenants, I can list the property, I can get photos taken. I need to start to really think about all the things that I need to make sure that I don't have too much time between when I get the keys and when I can start to generate actual income from this investment property. So those are the things that I'm doing right now. So I will continue to keep you guys updated on how everything is going with my property buying journey. And I will also be sharing a lot more videos on the things that I've learned and the mistakes that I've made and things that you can use to, make your own process a lot smoother if you're trying to go on the same journey that I'm also going on. Anyways, I've come to the end of this video. If you've enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you next time. Bye.